UZINDUZI Project, Unlocking Cultural and Creative Industries in Lamu Old Town. Lamu is known for her built heritage, traditional way of life, and grand cultural festivals. However, many of the townspeople lack formal employment and business skills. A previously conducted capacity building program on CCIs revealed that there was a big gap in product development, diversification, and quality to enable them meet and compete at the national and international levels. It was hence necessary for the project organizers to devise a pilot project that would enhance the product quality and also diversity. In this regard, 10 participants from the Turathi Lamu women's organizations were selected to take part in the pilot training program to develop new craft products for local women engaged in kofia embroidery. The women were trained how to design and make decorated pillowcases. The skills required for making the pillowcases are exactly the same as those for making the traditional kofia, which the women are accustomed to. On the first day of the capacity building training for the women, intended to expand their skill sets and product diversification, the women were introduced to the concept of expanding products in order to improve or to make themselves competitive. It was emphasized that from the previous workshop, it had been noted that the women are specialized on only one product. That means they were dependent on only one line of income, and should there have been a shortfall in demand for kofia or orders for kofia, then they wouldn't be making any incomes. So one of the most probable areas to diversify products was to think of other products that utilize the same skill sets. So instead of just for them to learn totally new skills, they could still use their knowledge, their ability that has developed over the years to make different kind of products. So that is how the embroidered pillowcases were identified. And they used several examples from around of probably similar products, and they were informed, or they jointly discussed ways of improving or making their products unique so that they could capture the gap that was existing in the market instead of just reproducing what was already existing. This type of embroidered pillowcases were noted that they were absent within the island. They were very different from the heavy printed pillowcases that are more common with the selling dows or in most restaurants, balconies of restaurants. These embroidered pieces could also be purchased as souvenirs by tourists because they are lighter and they're easy just to fold and fix them in their own luggages. It was also observed that they could be made in different exciting colors and intricate Islamic patterns rather than the normal patterns that can be observed on the normal pillows that are used in the dows, for example, or in the restaurants. They also discussed possibilities of adapting different kind of Swahili patterns, especially those that are appearing on doors or in plaster motifs or in other decorative elements within the Swahili crafts, so that you give these products a unique feeling that they're coming from Lamu. So they tried to document quite a number of patterns. They looked at the patterns that have been adapted indoors. They looked at the patterns that have been adapted in different kinds of plaster motifs. And they also looked at the different patterns that are used in henna painting, as well as decoration of clothes. And they came up most probably with the Swahili Islamic pattern that would give the finished product a distinctive look and or identity that it was actually coming from Lamu. The second thing was to try and simplify or translate these patterns into reasonable forms that could be easily be cut out and then stitched onto the pillowcases. So they spent a better part of the day looking at and trying different kinds of patterns, looking at how difficult or how they could be adopted so that they could be conveniently be sewed or sewn onto the pillowcases. On the second day, the students taught themselves how to duplicate these symmetrical patterns, how to start from one corner of a piece of paper and then duplicate the same pattern across 4 corners of a piece of sheet so that you maintain the symmetry. This one they were able to practice on their own, starting off with simple shapes and then moving on to very complicated shapes, especially shapes that involve floral patterns or patterns depicting fruits, depicting leaves, or depicting other elements from nature. Following this practice, they were also able to learn how to prepare stencils or templates that eventually they could cut out and use them to transfer the patterns onto a piece of cloth. On the third day of the program, the students then practiced how to cut out the prepared patterns from the manila paper so that they could come up with the stencils, and then they also practiced how to transfer accurately whatever they had drawn and cut out onto the actual clothes. After which they also were taught the different ways in which now the patterns on the cloth could be cut out accurately in readiness for stitching. They were also taught how the cutouts plus the remaining material could be utilized in an economic way so that there was no or reduced wastage to the minimal necessary. On the fourth day, they started to do the practice of the more difficult part of it, which was the stitching. None of them had tried to do the stitching using the small needle, stitching pieces of cloth onto another piece of cloth, which was a bit tedious. So it was an exploratory exercise in which each of the participants tried out different stitching methods so that they could come up with the most effective, the one that adheres properly and it cannot be damaged throughout the life of the product, and also the one that was pleasing to the eye. They spent better part of the day trying out these different patterns. Eventually also they tried out in providing a backing because they had noted if you just stitched the patterns onto a piece of cloth without a backing at the back, like a canvas or a heavy khaki cloth, then the patterns do not look very nice because they easily crumple and they don't appear very nicely. They also learned how to eventually iron the sewn on decorated elements using just a normal iron box to make them more pleasing or to make them adhere properly. On the last day, they examined their work and they had a discussion with an invited former lecturer of the Swahili Cultural Center in Lamu, who examined and looked at the weaknesses or looked at the shortfalls of the products that they had come up, and they gave them ideas on how to improve them. So in the afternoon, the participants spent their time trying to incorporate the newly learned techniques onto their products to make them better. After this period, they then spent, or they had an opportunity to spend another 20 days at the Lamu Fort trying to practice on their own. So they had access to the space and access to the facilities at the Lamu Fort every day between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock to try out on their own how to improve the products, how to improve their skill, and how to make the embroidered pieces much better. Quite a number of the participants were observed that they were getting better by the day, and these products were fortunate enough to be noted by the county authorities, and eventually the ladies were invited to showcase these new products that they were coming up with at the Lamu Investment Forum that was held in Mokoe on the 27th of June 2024. All in all is that the women are remaining very enthusiastic, and now they're continuing with the production of the pillowcases, and hopefully these pillowcases will be displayed at one of the rooms within the Amu Fakhriangu heritage space within the Lamu fort, and hopefully there will be a big attraction for tourists.